This is a Salvia divinorum, DMT, MDMA, MD, and Cannabis trip report by Jarek, posted to erupted.org on September 11, 2006. I am sitting alone in my small apartment after a long weekend of music and camping. The festival lasted 4 days, and the sound of distant drums still rings in my ears. I have been awake for most of the last 2 nights. My sleep has been broken into 3-hour fragments, and my mind feels both exhausted and eager. I have been playing with the leftovers from the festival for the past few days. The chemicals I have on hand include LSD, ketamine, 2 different forms of MDMA, salvia, a very strong hash oil, and a large supply of cannabis. I have tried many combinations during the festival, but tonight I want to try something new, something that will push the boundaries of my perception. My intention for this night is simple. I want to explore the edges of my mind, to see how far the chemicals can take me when they are layered together. I also want to see if the serotonin boost from MDMA will make the DMT experience deeper, as many people have suggested. I do not have a specific goal beyond curiosity and a desire to feel something that I have not felt before. I have set a quiet space, turned off the phone, and cleared the table for my supplies. I begin by taking a quick shower, the water cold against my skin, shaking off the last bits of fatigue. I put on a pair of headphones and start a playlist that shuffles between indie hip-hop, jazz, jam band recordings, Goa trance, and progressive rock. The music is a background that will change as the night goes on, but for now it is a gentle flow that keeps my mind occupied while I prepare the chemicals. I have a small stash of cannabis that I have been smoking all day with friends who stopped by earlier. I have also smoked a few beers and a few more bong loads after dinner. The room smells of sweet herb and the faint metallic tang of hash oil. The air is warm, the lights are dim, and a soft orange lamp casts a mellow glow on the walls. The clock reads 11 o'clock. My friends have left, and the apartment is now quiet. On the coffee table I see 2 pressed MDMA pills that a friend gave me while we were camping. One is a pale orange tablet that the crowd calls the dopey roll. The rumor is that it contains an opiate filler. The other is a dark brown tablet known as the speedy roll. The rumor is that it is cut with an amphetamine of some sort, perhaps Adderall, cocaine, or methamphetamine. I have not yet eaten, so the pills will be absorbed quickly. I decide to split each pill in half. I use a small knife, carefully cutting each tablet into 2 equal pieces. I set aside 1/2 of each pill for later, planning to keep a small reserve for another night. I crush the remaining halves into fine powder, keeping the 2 colors separate in 2 tiny plastic bags. The orange powder sits in one bag, the brown powder in the other. I turn the music down a notch and start to sniff the orange powder. I take a small bump with my finger, feeling the faint taste of sugar and a metallic aftertaste. I repeat with the brown powder, feeling a slight bitterness. I take a few more finger dips, each time feeling a tiny tingle on the tip of my tongue. I do not swallow the powder, I simply let it dissolve in my mouth. The sensation is mild, a warm flush spreading through my cheeks and down my throat. I finish my beer, the last sip leaving a bitter aftertaste that mixes with the taste of the powders. I reach for the bong and load a fresh bowl of cannabis. I light it, inhale deeply, and hold the smoke for a count of 5 before exhaling slowly. The smoke fills my lungs, and a familiar sweet, earthy flavor spreads through my chest. I repeat this 3 more times, each hit bringing a gentle wave of relaxation and a light buzzing in my head. Now I turn my attention to the DMT that I have been saving for a while. I have a small glass pipe that I will use as a mini bong for the DMT. I sprinkle a modest amount of the crystal onto a small piece of herb that I have already packed into the pipe. The DMT crystals are a clear, glassy substance that catch the light as I handle them. I feel a slight anticipation, a quiet excitement that something big is about to happen. I light the herb, draw the flame across the DMT crystals, and inhale. The smoke is hot and sharp, filling my throat and lungs. I hold the breath, feeling the pressure build in my chest. I hold a little longer, feeling as if my lungs might burst. Then I exhale slowly, releasing a plume of smoke that drifts upward and disappears into the dim ceiling. Almost instantly, a bright point appears behind my closed eyelids. It is a single, infinite-pointed star that seems to expand outward, growing larger and larger until it fills my entire field of vision. The star is not a simple light. It is a complex lattice of colors that swirl and pulse with a rhythm that matches the beat of the music in my ears. I feel as if I am being pulled toward it, as if the star is a magnet drawing my consciousness inward. I feel a pressure in the back of my head, as if a wave of energy is pushing me forward. The world around me dissolves, and I am catapulted through a tunnel of light. The tunnel is not a smooth cylinder. It is a kaleidoscope of geometric patterns, fractal shapes that repeat endlessly, each one more intricate than the last. The colors are vivid, electric blues, deep purples, bright oranges, and flashes of white that seem to pulse in time with a heartbeat I cannot hear. The sensation of movement is both rapid and slow. My mind tells me that I am moving at the speed of light, yet I also feel each moment stretched out, as if I am watching a film in slow motion. I am aware of my body, of the couch I am sitting on, yet at the same time I am aware of an infinite expanse that stretches beyond any concept of space. I feel my sense of self dissolve, merging with the patterns, merging with the light. The 3 dimensions of the room and the 4th dimension of time feel like droplets in a vast ocean of energy. The music in my headphones shifts automatically. My playlist, which has been shuffling, now lands on a track by Spangel. The sound is otherworldly, a blend of electronic beats, ethnic drums, and strange vocal samples. The music seems to synchronize with the visuals, each beat echoing the pulse of the star behind my eyelids. I feel a deep resonance between the sound and the geometry, as if the music is shaping the patterns I see. I am still in the early part of the DMT peak. The star continues to expand, and the geometry becomes more complex. I see crystalline lattices that look like giant snowflakes, each branch reflecting a different hue. I see spirals that twist into themselves, forming Mobius strips that seem to have no beginning and no end. The sense of time has completely vanished. I am not aware of how many minutes have passed. The experience feels timeless. As the DMT begins to settle, the star starts to contract, pulling the patterns back toward a single point. The colors begin to dim, and the intensity of the visual field lessens. I feel a gentle descent, as if I am being guided back down through the tunnel. The music continues, but it is now softer, more ambient, as if the sound is being filtered through a distant speaker. When the star finally collapses, I open my eyes. The room is still dimly lit, the orange lamp casting a warm glow. The couch is still there, the coffee table still holds the 2 bags of powdered MDMA, the pipe, and the empty bong. My heart is beating faster than normal, a thudding that seems to echo the rhythm of the music. I feel a lingering sense of awe, as if I have just returned from a place beyond ordinary reality. I am still buzzing from the MDMA. The serotonin boost is evident. My skin feels warm, my thoughts are bright, and I feel a gentle euphoria. The cannabis still lingers in my lungs, making the edges of the room feel soft, as if the walls are slightly blurred. The DMT has faded, but the afterglow remains. I can still see faint traces of the geometry in my mind's eye, like a memory that refuses to fade completely. I decide that I want to go further. The DMT experience has opened a doorway, and I feel a strong urge to explore deeper. I think about Salvia, the plant that I have used many times before. Each time I have smoked Salvia, the experience has been strange, but always more profound than the last. Tonight, I want to see how far the combination of MDMA, cannabis, and the lingering DMT afterglow can push the Salvia experience. I go to the small drawer where I keep my Salvia. I have a jar of dried leaves that have been soaked in a high-potency extract, labeled as 6 times. The concentration is strong, and I know that even a small amount can produce a powerful effect. I take a pinch of the material, estimating roughly half a gram, though I am not exact. I place the pinch into the bowl of the bong, making sure the glass is clean. I light the herb, drawing the flame across the Salvia. The smoke is harsh and pungent, a sharp, bitter taste that burns the back of my throat. I inhale deeply, feeling the heat fill my lungs. I hold the breath for as long as I can, counting slowly in my head. The sensation is different from the cannabis. It feels like a pressure building in my chest, a tightening that is both uncomfortable and oddly inviting. I hold and hold and hold, feeling as if time has stopped. My mind is racing, but the racing is not chaotic. It is focused, as if a single thought is trying to push through a barrier. When I finally exhale, the smoke pours out in a slow, steady stream. The room feels suddenly larger, as if the walls have expanded outward. I open my eyes and see a faint glow around the edges of the lamp, a halo of light that was not there before. The shadows on the wall seem to shift, moving in slow, deliberate patterns. I feel a sense of weightlessness, as if I am no longer anchored to the floor. I take another hit of salvia, this time a smaller amount, just enough to keep the momentum going. I repeat the same process: light, inhale, hold, exhale. The second inhalation feels deeper, as if the first hit has opened a doorway that the second can now pass through more easily. I notice that my thoughts are no longer linear. They are like a series of overlapping images, each one flashing in rapid succession, but I can still sense a thread that connects them. The visual field around me begins to change. The orange lamp now looks like a sphere of molten gold, its light rippling like water. The walls of the room are no longer flat. They appear to curve inward, forming a vast, seamless dome that surrounds me. I feel a sense of weightlessness, as if I am no longer anchored to the floor. I take another hit of salvia, this time a smaller amount, just enough to keep the momentum going. I repeat the same process: light, inhale, hold, exhale. The second inhalation feels deeper, as if the first hit has opened a doorway that the second can now pass through more easily. I notice that my thoughts are no longer linear. They are like a series of overlapping images, each one flashing in rapid succession, but I can still sense a thread that connects them. The visual field around me begins to change. The orange lamp now looks like a sphere of molten gold, its light rippling like water. The walls of the room are no longer flat. They appear to curve inward, forming a vast, seamless dome that surrounds me. The dome is not solid. It feels like a thin membrane of light that pulses with each breath I take. I can see tiny points of color moving across the surface, like fireflies trapped in a glass sphere. Each point has its own rhythm, its own tiny beat, and together they create a low hum that I can hear without ears. The hum grows louder as I inhale again, this time a third hit. The salvia burns hotter in my throat, and the smoke feels like a thick, warm blanket on my lungs. I hold the breath longer than before, feeling the pressure in my chest build, then I release it slowly. The release feels like a wave crashing over a shore, pulling the visual dome into a new shape. The dome expands, then collapses, then expands again, as if it is breathing with me. At the peak of the experience, the dome shatters. It does not break in a violent way. It simply dissolves into a field of light that stretches in all directions. I am no longer looking at a room. I am looking at a space that has no edges. The space is filled with geometric patterns that shift and rearrange themselves with each blink of my eye. Some of the patterns are simple triangles, others are complex spirals that seem to spin forever. The colors are vivid: electric blue, deep violet, bright orange, and a soft green that feels like the inside of a leaf. I feel a pressure at the back of my head, like a gentle push. It is not painful, but it is unmistakable. It seems to be a signal, a kind of invitation. At the same time, a voice begins to speak inside my mind. The voice uses my own inner tone, but it is not my own thought. It is clear, calm, and patient. It says, "You are here now. Do not be afraid. You are safe." I try to answer, but my words come out as a jumble of sounds. The voice continues, "You have opened a door. Look through it." I look, and I see a tunnel of light that stretches far beyond what my eyes can follow. The tunnel is lined with the same geometric patterns I saw before, but they are now moving slower, as if they are being drawn out of a deep well. The voice says, "This tunnel is a path. Walk it." I feel my body lift, and I am moving forward without walking. I am gliding through the tunnel, feeling the light brush against my skin like a soft wind. The tunnel leads to a chamber that is unlike any room I have ever seen. It is filled with a soft golden glow that does not come from any source I can locate. In the middle of the chamber stands a figure that is both human and not human. The figure is tall, its skin is a translucent shade of amber, and its eyes are pools of dark water. The figure does not move, but I can sense its presence. The voice inside my head says, "Do not try to name this being. Just listen." I listen, and the figure begins to speak, not with words, but with a feeling that spreads through my body. The feeling is one of deep calm. It spreads from my chest to my arms, to my legs, to my head. It feels like a warm hand resting on my shoulder, reassuring me that everything is as it should be. The figure then shows me a series of images. The first image is a river that flows backward. The water moves upstream against the current, yet it does not struggle. The second image is a forest where the trees are made of glass. Light passes through them, creating a pattern of shadows on the ground that looks like a map. The third image is a city made of stone, but the stones are alive. They pulse with a soft light, as if they have a heartbeat. Each image is accompanied by a sensation. The river gives me a sense of moving forward while staying still. The glass forest gives me a feeling of clarity, as if all confusion is being cut away. The stone city gives me a feeling of stability, as if I could build something lasting with my hands. The figure does not explain these images, but the voice in my head says, "These are gifts, keep them." The chamber begins to fade, and the light that fills it becomes brighter. The figure dissolves into the light, and the light becomes a single point. The point expands, filling my entire field of vision. It is as if I am inside a star that is exploding outward, but the explosion is gentle, like a breath. The point turns into a sphere of light that surrounds my body. I can feel the sphere pressing gently against my skin, as if it is a hug. The voice says, "You are ready to return." I feel a pull, like a rope being tugged, and I am drawn back through the tunnel. The tunnel collapses behind me, and I find myself back in the room with the orange lamp. The lamp is still glowing, but now its light looks like a soft sunrise. The walls are flat again, but there is a faint afterglow on the edges, like a memory of the dome. My body feels heavy, but my mind is still buzzing with the images and the voice. The peak begins to settle into a plateau. The intense visuals soften, but they do not disappear. I can still see faint outlines of the geometric patterns, like a watermark on my vision. The humming sound becomes a low vibration that I can feel in my chest. My heart beats slower than before, but it is steady. The MDMA that I took earlier starts to show its effect more clearly now that the salvia is fading. I feel a warm wave of affection spreading through my body. It is not the same as the calm from the salvia. It is a different feeling, like a gentle flood of love for everything around me. I notice that the cannabis I smoked earlier is still present in my system. The taste of the herb lingers on my tongue, and a slight heaviness sits in my lungs. The combination of MDMA, cannabis, and the remnants of salvia creates a complex texture in my mind. I feel both grounded and floating at the same time. My thoughts are still not linear, but they are easier to follow. I can pick up a thread and pull it without it snapping. The thread leads me back to the images I saw in the chamber. I see the river again, but now I can understand that the water moving backward is a symbol of moving against the current of ordinary life, yet still arriving at the same destination. The plateau lasts for several minutes. During this time, I sit on the floor, my back against the couch, and I let the music play. The playlist has shifted to a slower, more ambient set. The beats are soft, the synths are warm, and the bass is deep. The music feels like a tide, rising and falling, matching the rhythm of my breath. I breathe in slowly, feeling the air fill my lungs, and I exhale, feeling the tension leave my body. My limbs feel heavy, but they do not ache. My mind feels open, like a window that has been cleaned. I notice a small detail that I had not seen before. The orange lamp casts a faint pattern on the carpet, a pattern that looks like a mandala made of tiny dots. The pattern is not a hallucination, it is a real shadow created by the lamp. The fact that I notice it now, after the intense visual distortion, makes me realize how much my attention has shifted. I am now aware of small things that I would normally ignore. The plateau begins to thin out. The geometric patterns fade, leaving only a faint afterimage that disappears when I close my eyes. The hum in my ears becomes a whisper. The voice that spoke inside my head becomes quiet, like a distant echo. The feeling of calm from the salvia recedes, but the warmth from the MDMA remains. I feel a gentle glow in my chest, as if a small fire is burning inside me, providing comfort. The come down starts as a slow return to ordinary perception. The orange lamp returns to its normal brightness, the walls become completely flat, and the room feels ordinary again. My body feels heavier, as if gravity has increased. My limbs feel tired, but they are not sore. My mind feels clearer, but there is a lingering sense of awe. The images of the river, the glass forest, and the stone city are no longer vivid, but they remain as faint impressions, like a memory of a dream. I notice a slight tremor in my hands, a small shake that I attribute to the combination of substances wearing off. I stand up slowly, feeling the floor under my feet, feeling the weight of my body. My breath is deeper now, each inhale filling my lungs fully, each exhale releasing the last of the chemicals. I move to the kitchen and pour a glass of water. The water is cool, and as I drink it, I feel a refreshing surge that seems to wash away the last remnants of the high. I sit back down and look at my phone. I have a text message from a friend who asked if I am okay. I type a short reply, telling them that I am fine and that I will talk later. The act of typing feels normal, as if the world has snapped back into place. I notice that my fingers are slightly sticky from the hash oil I smoked earlier, but it does not bother me. The after effects settle in over the next hour. My heart rate returns to a normal rhythm. The warmth from the MDMA fades into a gentle contentment. The cannabis leaves a lingering dry mouth, which I soothe with a piece of gum. The salvia leaves a faint sense of detachment that lingers for a while, but it does not feel unsettling. Instead, it feels like a quiet space inside my mind where I can observe my thoughts without being swept away by them. I begin to think about the images and the voice that spoke to me. The river that flows backwards stays with me. I imagine myself standing on the bank, watching the water move upstream. I feel a sense of control over the direction of my life, as if I can choose to go against the current when needed. The glass forest gives me a feeling of clarity. I think about the decisions I have been avoiding, and I notice that the images have cut away the fog that usually clouds my judgment. The stone city feels solid. I think about building something lasting, perhaps a habit or a project that can stand the test of time. I write these thoughts down in a notebook. The act of writing feels grounding. The pen moves across the paper, leaving a trace of the experience. I note the time, the substances I used, the setting, and the sensations. I describe the voice as calm and patient, and I write down the 3 images and what they meant to me. I also note the feeling of weightlessness at the beginning, the sense of being inside a dome, and the moment when the dome dissolved. I try to keep the description simple, avoiding any poetic language, focusing on what I actually felt. I notice that my mind is still processing the experience, but it does so in a slower, more deliberate way. The thoughts are not racing. They are like a river that flows at a steady pace. I find myself smiling at the memory of the voice saying, "You are safe." It is a small reassurance that stays with me as I move through the rest of the night. The night stretches on. I eventually go to bed, feeling tired but not exhausted. I lie down on the mattress, and the sheets feel cool against my skin. My breathing slows, and I feel my body sink into the mattress. I think about the images one more time before sleep takes me. The river, the glass forest, the stone city all appear briefly, like a short film that runs in my mind. I let them fade, and I allow my thoughts to drift. In the morning, I wake up with a mild headache, a common after effect of the combination of substances. The headache is not severe. It feels like a pressure behind my eyes.